Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a little video for you today. I think you'll find it super interesting. It come off a comment from a Facebook today about change.org. I'm going to read that to you, and then I put a lot of evidence down here, kind of a timeline of what happened during the murder attempt, a fact-filled timeline of what we know happened. A lot of this is a lot of TMI, too much information, because I want to get all the facts out there. And I'm hoping that Lieutenant Gray with the Sheriff Department that I spoke to last week is watching my Facebook, watching my YouTube. He'll see this video, and and this will lay it out where you know won't be any doubt. And the same thing with our Midland District Attorney, Laura Nodoff, because it looks like she might be looking at my Facebook too. So let me just get started here, and we're looking at my Facebook right here, Buddy Wayne Webb. Here it is, my top post today. It says change.org petition for secret police. That's the title. And Jared Baker, one of my Facebook friends, he says it's because they believe themselves above the law. But more and more people are waking up to it. I want to say there are many great police who only do their jobs, but it seems like the bad ones make it seem like they don't. I know you like law enforcement that actually does their job, as do I. I don't know how any law enforcement officer or district attorney can allow this to continue. You have more than enough proof. What we need is for a bunch of people to stand up. You should start a petition and I'll sign it, and I know a crap ton of others will as well. Change.org is what I use, okay? And that's real nice. I appreciate Jared's support, and it's a really good idea. Here, I'm gonna read to you what my reply to him was. And like I said, it's probably too much information, but I think getting the facts out is important. More is better than less, okay? I said, thank you, Jared, and that's something I've done in the past without much luck. And I'm talking about I've done the change.org. After I survived the murder attempt in 2012, I saw where the police had disabled my front security cameras 22 minutes after I was seen crawling out, and they attempted to disable my bedroom security camera, but accidentally started it without them knowing. These pictures and videos showed the first two law enforcement officers arriving, and then later that night in my bedroom planting evidence and staging the crime scene. I requested the police reports in April 2012, but they withheld the one from the night of the murder attempt, and in December 2013, my attorney subpoenaed all police records. MPD ignored the court order and illegally withheld that police report again, so I didn't know one had existed. I called them the first known secret police since Nazi Germany and offered a $2,000 reward, along with making videos that were seen by tens of thousands. In assistance to help cover up the crimes and murders, our press hid this important news from the public. The average citizen has no idea of the history or potential danger to them or their families. Reporting crime to these police can get you killed because they're involved in those crimes. During that time, I started a change.org petition, but barely got 100 signatures. It was disappointing and can be compared to my many attempts to get the press to report on this fact-filled and important story. It's just unprecedented what's going on. Somebody at a high level is stopping this. In 2018, 6 years after the murder attempt, Empire Private Investigations collected the reward money and identified all 11 of the secret police. 11. The first law enforcement officer seen arriving at my home 22 minutes after I crawled out was Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, and this is Midland County. He wasn't dispatched, and his name was not on the long withheld police report. I believe that he was under my home when I was ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut by somebody under my home. That is why and how he can be seen in front of my home minutes after a premeditated capital attempted murder. I believe that he is now a convicted felon, and I've wondered if he was the shooter. Okay. Woodward was followed by the late Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, who died in the line of duty in 2014, while I had a reward offered for his identity as a secret police. He was made out to be a hero, and they named the highway after him, 191. Seen on camera inside my home was the late Midland Canine police officer Chad Simpson. He was alleged to have murdered Sandra Simpson, his young wife, and the mother of their two babies, just 2 months after Naylor died. There was a reward offered for his identity as a secret police when he died, which was another secret hidden from the public. Now there are 2 secret police and the policeman's wife dead, connected to the capital murder attempt of my life, which is connected to the 4 murders, deaths that Aaron Peckerhofer said has happened at my home. My friend told me about a young girl that was murdered at a 2010 oil show party, and the previous owner of this home died the week before the 2008 oil show party started. It's believed those parties were going on in the underground home in the backyard, as was seen on Google Maps before it was recently deleted. In 2019, it was found out there was a police report for the night of the murder attempt, and it timestamped 5 police officers at or inside my home that were not seen arriving on the security cameras, which had seen Woodward and Naylor just minutes earlier. MPD Lieutenant Dickey was inside my home at 11:05 p.m., and he wasn't seen arriving like Woodward and Naylor were seen at 11:01 p.m. With all of my windows and doors secured with extra locks due to the crimes that I was reporting to the police, this proved that he came into my home from the now removed underground trap door that the ex-wife had already told me about, and from where I had been ambushed and shot. Also listed at my home and not seen arriving was officers Davis, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale. Okay. And I believe these police entered via the Home Depot store where a tunnel entrance was located, and then came to my home via the tunnel that I found on old Google Earth map pictures. The ex-wife told me that a lot of people were here that night, so I suspect some kind of party was going on in my underground home in the backyard. What is going on here is unprecedented lawlessness. Here are the pictures and videos that I found on my cameras after I returned from the hospital, crippled for life with lies spread calling me crazy. Okay. And I put the link here, pictures of the secret police, and that's a great video. It shows all the pictures in there. And then I got a screenshot of the change.org. See, it's closed, and that was in 2016. Identify the Midland, Texas secret police. And right there it says Petition in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott. I had a whole write-up on that. I had 96, I think that's what it was, 94 supporters, okay? And so, like I said, I've done change.org, and, I don't know how they're so good at censorship, but that's it just didn't do much for me, is all I'm saying. We got to do something, though, that's for sure. Okay, now what I did was using the evidence. I want to build a timeline, and so everybody knows it's time stamped. This happened at this minute, that happened this minute, that minute, and it tells you what happened. It's real easy. It's not Buddy's assessment. It's not my word against their word. This is what happened. Here, I'm going to show you here. Okay, this picture is right from my security camera. I found it when I returned from the hospital. It says my security camera showed me crawling out of my home at 10:42 on January 28, 2012. The reason that I didn't call for help is because they stole my cell phone and disconnected my home phone lines before shooting me by surprise. They planned on me bleeding out and dying. This was cold-blooded murder, and God saved my life. Okay, this is from a video. It's a screenshot from a video, and you see, I didn't know if I was going to live or die at that moment right there. And here's the timestamp at 10:42. See my company car here on the video? The lights were on when I was crawling out, and I screamed for help, and the lights went off. So I suspected somebody was actually sitting in my car, and they were waiting. And what I think they were waiting for was for me to die, and so they could go in and let the trap burglar that was in the bathroom out. That's my guess. It might have been somebody who lived in my neighborhood. Okay. 19 minutes after I crawled out, the first 2 secret police were seen arriving. 19 minutes. They were identified by the PI 6 years later as Martin County Sheriff John Woodward and the late Midland County Deputy Mike Naylor. Their names had been illegally omitted from the long withheld police report, along with 4 other secret police, which means they were not dispatched. Nobody has explained why a sheriff from another county was at my home minutes after a premeditated capital attempted murder, but it makes sense they were under my home when somebody under my home cut my phone lines and shot me. Okay, absolute proof's been shown I wasn't shot with my gun, so we know somebody shot me, and it was somebody under my home. Okay, I want to show you, this is also from the same security camera, and these are the first 2 law enforcement officers that arrived. Took 6 years to get them identified, $2,000 reward, and we know the first one that showed up, actually it was Woodward, showed up in his Martin County Sheriff vehicle with the spotlight. I believe they were looking for my dead body, is what I believe, and they wasn't dispatched. Like I said, and their names was illegally omitted from the police report, and here it's time stamped at 11:01. Okay. And then he was followed by Mike Naylor, who's conveniently dead right now. Some people wondered if Naylor wasn't going to snitch on him. Okay, and that's why he's dead. The long withheld police report, timestamp MPD Lieutenant Dickey inside my home at 11:05. 4 minutes after Woodward and Naylor was seen, but he was not seen arriving. With all of my windows and doors secured with extra locks due to the crimes that have been reported to the police, this proved that Dickey came into my home from the now removed underground trapdoor entrance that the ex-wife had already told me about and from where I'd been ambushed and shot. Also listed on the report as being at my home and not seen arriving was officers Davis, Chatwell, Angel, and Hell. It's possible that one of these officers was a shooter, aka would-be killer. So now you can understand why they illegally withheld that police report even when it was subpoenaed, because it held incriminating evidence against them. It time-stamped them coming in from under my home. There's a picture of Lieutenant Dickey right here, and that's right, that at the top is right from the police report at 11:05. No one in the house, inside, and lots of odd things like booby traps. And that was another lie, as there's no booby traps in evidence. So Dickey lied there. But like I said, the main thing is at 11:01, Woodward and Naylor are here, and 11:05, he's inside the house and he ain't seen arriving. That's the big point right there. And it wasn't just him, it was Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hell. Okay. At 11:22 p.m., okay, so that's just a few minutes later, my front security cameras were disabled, so anybody seen coming or going after this time was not seen. Officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hell were timestamped being at or inside my home before this camera was disabled. That's important. And they wasn't seen arriving. This is what proved they came into my home from underground. This is not Star Trek. They didn't beam themselves into my home, folks. They came in the underground entrance that the ex-wife had told me about, okay? That's where they come in. You know, remember Ricky Ronaldo said, I used to live in your house. Me and my brother used to go in the tunnels under it when we was kids. I got a print screen of him saying that. Here's from the security cameras again. It was pointing at my gate in my yard right here. And then the next minute, that was 11:22, and that's also 11:22. And they rotated the camera to look at the house. That's what they did. The police did. They rotated it, and then so they effectively disabled the cameras, and that allowed them to come and go and do whatever crimes they were. I mean, because that's what they were doing. They were covering up a home invasion, premeditated, capital attempted murder. I mean, that is exactly what they were doing. The log files show that at 3:15 a.m., that's later that night, the police rebooted the computer running the bedroom camera in an attempt to disable it. They didn't know I had this camera set to auto start on reboot, so it started taking pictures of them without them knowing, okay? And I have the Windows System event log. I didn't post it, but it shows that there was a manual reboot, okay? It wasn't automatic, wasn't a system, it was a manual reboot. The police had manually rebooted. What they did, they come in and they saw that camera and they're going, oh, we need to disable that camera because we're committing a capital crime, and so let's reboot the computer. And they didn't know when they rebooted the computer that it automatically started the camera. I had it set to run as a service. I'm an IT guy, right? And so when they rebooted the computer, they started the camera, and interestingly, the camera wasn't even running until they started it. And so here it was terminated. It had stopped at right there 8:08, okay? And so at 8:08 it was terminated. I didn't do that. I believe that's when they stole my cell phone, when they cut my phone lines and they terminated this camera. The killers did, okay? The would-be killers did. And then it got started back up at 3:16 a.m. in the morning when the police manually rebooted the computer, and they didn't realize that it was taking pictures of them. And these are the pictures that I found when I got home, okay? And so I'm sure I wasn't expecting police corruption. I mean, that's all. That's the truth. I just wasn't expecting it. And so when I found pictures of police, I just thought it was normal. I expected police to be in the house, but when I ordered the police report, I didn't get a police report showing any police here. Okay, so I had pictures of police and no names, no reports showing police were in my house. So were they police, or were they criminals dressed like police? But so here's starting right, the first one, 3:36 a.m. Okay, and here's the first two police officers. This one here, also 3:36. See the blonde with the bun on her head? That's April Chandler. I recently did a video about her called "Dirty Cop April Chandler," where it showed proof of her tampering with evidence and lying on police reports. So she was here. And here, the third picture right here shows a guy wearing a Midland K-9 police jacket, okay? And Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson murdered his wife in 2014. That is Chad Simpson. I mean, he's the one alleged to have murdered his wife and killed himself 2 months after Naylor. And excuse me, he was one of the secret places in my home. His name was missing from the police report, illegally omitted, okay? And because they have to list everybody here on the police report. Actually, six of the 11 names were illegally omitted, but Simpson was one of them right there, okay? And there's 12 of them, I think. A lot of them we're just going to real quick look at, okay? And y'all can come back and go to my Facebook and look if you want to see. Okay. You see, it looks like he's moving stuff around here. There's another picture of Chandler in the background here. This one I've talked about or here before. This guy's pointing. He's probably a boss. Oh, this one. Look at him. He's having a good old time. We're covering up capital death and murder, and this crippled crime victim will never know. Just think how good a time he's having right there. Wonder if he's going to have a good time when they send him to prison. Dirty cops. 6 years to get them identified. There we go. Here's another one. I compared his badge. See that badge? It might be the same guy. I think it is. It's got the same hat. I was comparing this badge to the other badges. I wasn't even sure they were the same badges. That was a long time ago here. Okay. There's Chandler again on that one. Okay, here's a real good picture. A dirty cop, April Chandler. I think they arrested her the day after I made that video. That was just a week ago or so. Called Dirty Cop April Chandler. They arrested April Chandler. Okay, here she is carrying the booty bag. Evidence was stolen from my home that night. There were shotgun shells that were stolen. My voice recorder was stolen. And it was actually April Chandler said she found it. It was checked into evidence, but we found out that April Chandler had lied, and it looks like Matt Davis actually stole that voice recorder. There we go, carrying the bags again. Once again, this is April Chandler, Rosie Rodriguez. These seem to be the two main players. This one is super important because Rosie is leaned over my nightstand, and that's where my stolen cell phone was found planted after I returned from the hospital. April Chandler standing next to her, and based on the timestamps of all these pictures, this is towards the end of the pictures. It looks like they waited for all the other police to leave the bedroom, and Rosie went over there and leaned over and planted that stolen cell phone behind this nightstand. That's what I believe happened. Then she made up a lie on the police report and said that I told her I crawled out because my battery wasn't charged on my phone, but the truth was I had a fully charged cordless phone in my pocket, but didn't work because I disconnected the home phone lines, and so she was excuse making. She was lying. She knew that they had stolen my cell phone and disconnected my home phone lines. When she lied on that police report, that proved it, And here's the picture of dirty detective Rosie Rodriguez caught tampering with evidence, lying on police report. I recently did a video about her, and here's a picture of April Chandler, one of the last pictures, searching the bedroom drawers here. And interestingly, I got, they come back in 3 days later pretending that nobody had been in the house because they had staged the crime scene. That's what they were doing. They were stealing evidence and staging the crime scene. I believe that's when they poured concrete. I believe in them 3 days between the two police entries. They come in 3 days later. It was April Chandler. The only one that's in both sets of pictures was not April Chandler, but Rosie Rodriguez. And they had the bomb squad. It's not safe to go into Buddy's house. We got to have the bomb squad. But they didn't know they'd been caught on camera inside my home staging the crime scene. That's true. That's exactly what happened. Okay. This was a subpoena that ordered MPD to turn over all police records, but they violated the court order and withheld 2 police reports, with one of them being from the night of the murder attempt. The other report was when my Vivint alarm system in my attic dispatched the police to my house. It did that 2 different times, and they withheld one of the reports. And the one they withheld is where they had changed the alarm call to a warrant call. It looked like they were going to arrest me, the crime victim, and then somebody changed their mind, and they changed it back to an alarm call. I've showed that before. This video is not about that, but they withheld 2 police reports, and here it shows the subpoena that was issued before the protective order hearing, and it says all records regarding Buddy Wayne Webb. Okay, so the police MPD was ordered. They were ordered to release them records, and they they just stuffed their nose at the court order and the judge's order is what they did. Because this is a capital attempted murder, premeditated capital attempted murder, and incriminated police. That's why. Okay. While I waited to get the secret police identified, that was 6 years, came repeated break-ins to my home, death threats, and many people asking and ordered me to sell my home. They've conspired together to terrorize me into selling my property to cover up the crimes and murders here. This is called a violation of the Hobbs Act and carries 20 years in prison just by itself. And this still goes on today. So you can't conspire with your buddies to terrorize a property owner into selling his property. And they're desperate for me to sell my property because it's got an underground home in the backyard where they murdered a little girl. It's hidden with, it's got the access, the tunnel under the home comes up in the attic. It's everything that I've said, basically. And all these people, this is just a few. Move. Some of them extremely rude. Right here, sell and move the F out, you moron. One guy told me, you got 2 choices, move or meet God early. And they still go on. There's rarely a week goes by that somebody ain't saying, why don't you move, And over and over and over, I've had to explain. And here's just a few of the death threats, Here's old Lance Eggleston right here. He's the one that told me, we have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You will be silenced, not if, but when. And I said, when are you going to murder me, Lance? There's a whole bunch of other ones too, Oh, he's going to wind up being in a hole. Oh, they going to get the snitch, And so somebody breaks in your home, shoots you, you report it to the police. Randy says you're a snitch. That's what he calls a snitch, is a crime victim that reports killers breaking into private homes. So I guess the people that reported Charles Manson, that was snitches. That's how idiotic that is. Hobbs Act, and you can Google it, read the description. But basically, extortion means the obtaining of property from another with his consent, induced by a wrongful use or actual or threatened force, violence or fear, or under the color of right. That's it. They're trying to conspire together to terrorize me and sell my home, break in my home, death threats, and then saying, I'd sell that home if I was you. And one of them was the Homeland Security guy, Paul Cervantes. I meet him at the Home Depot store, and as soon as I get there, I'm thinking, finally justice is coming. And Paul says, I don't know why you don't sell that home if you're living under the threat of death. I'm going, what? That's a violation. I had to explain the Hobbs Act to him. That's a violation of the Hobbs Act. You can't try to talk me into selling my home. And it's like, I've said this before, like the bank gets robbed. The police call the police, teller gets shot, and they call the police for a bank robbery, and the police show up and go, I don't know why you don't sell this bank if you're getting robbed. That's what it was. Paul Cervantes, DHS, trying to get me to sell my home. I got a print screen showing what he said. Let's go on. In 2018, in private investigations, collected the $2,000 reward money and identified all 11 of the secret police. This was a flyer that I posted all over the world. Their pictures that I combined together, compilation. And this come from text messages from the private investigator as he was identifying them 6 years later in 2018. Rosa Rodriguez, April Chandler, we knew who they were because you could see their faces. But these other ones, Tony Dickey, he was a lieutenant. Okay, Greg Chatwell's a sergeant. Greg Nelson, I don't know. Marty Barrett's a crime scene investigator. And imagine a crime scene investigator involved in tampering with evidence in a capital murder attempt. Just think about how many murder cases he's testified on. I bet his testimony has sent people to death row before, and he's a dirty cop, Chad Simpson's dead. What if Mike Nader's dead? What if they were going to snitch on them other police? I had a reward offered for their identity. Mark Gilliam, Michael Glick, and John Woodward, a sheriff from a whole nother county. First one to show up at my house. Not dispatched. Nobody's ever explained it. October 9th, 2014. Mike Naylor killed with stolen gun. Doesn't that sound like a drop gun to you? You know, a stolen gun. You know, that there's a guy that confessed, right? But I bet you if he didn't confess, he was going to get the death penalty, because it was a whole bunch of cops' word against his word, and we know how that works. This is what's going on here at my house. There was a whole bunch of cops' word against my word, right? Oh, buddy's crazy. He thinks people in the attic. And they ain't telling you 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic. It's all going on all over the country. 2 months after Naylor died on December 13, 2014, I posted this Facebook post with Chad Simpson's secret police picture in my home, along with the story that I called Rape and Murder. That was about the young girl that Angie told me was murdered at the 2010 oil show party, which had police there believed to be held in the underground homes. 2 days later, Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson was alleged to have murdered his wife and then killed himself. Think about the timing of this, okay? So I posted this to my Facebook on December 13, 2014, Rape and Murder, and here's this picture. I didn't know who this guy was, right? He was secret for 6 years. 2 days later, she's dead, and he kills himself. It's Midland K-9 officer police Chad Simpson that murdered his beautiful young wife, mother of their 2 little babies. And I know several people that I've talked to that just can't believe that happened. You know, I mean, they talked about what kind of parents they were. Actually, I know a nurse. There's one of the nurses that took care of them babies at the hospital. She's reported people in the attic multiple times, and she told me she had many conversations with this couple. She just couldn't believe Chad murdered his wife, and other people said the same thing, you know, and maybe maybe he's going to snitch on the other secret police. I bet they didn't want him to snitch. Maybe they just took them both out, you know, and so we got some investigation that should be done. One of the many people now documented saying that tunnels and underground homes are here told me to go look at my home on Google Maps, and to my surprise, I see a large bunker located in my backyard on the map screen that can't be seen on the sat screen or from above ground. This was recently deleted after I notified the city of Midland that it was there. But it was there for about 10 years or longer. Obviously, it's one of the 4 underground homes that I was told about and where the underground parties were held. It's believed a young girl was murdered down there during the 2010 oil show, and the young previous owner of my home is suspected of being murdered here the week before the 2008 oil show started. The ex-wife had told me in so many words, a lot of people were here when I was ambushed and shot, and this is where I believe they were at. Okay, so that makes them either witnesses or accessories, and they're witnesses if they reported this as required by law. It makes sense that officers Davis, Dickey, Chadwell, Angel, and Hell, along with Woodward and Naylor, were there too, right? I mean, that just makes sense. And maybe Rodriguez and Chandler, you know, any of them could have been the shooter. Okay. Here's the Google Earth map from 2011, and one thing is showing where the ditch was coming out of the back of Home Depot, aimed directly at my house, okay? And in the backyards where it's believed one of the underground homes is located, you could see this on the Google Maps. On the map screen, you see the bunker in the backyard now removed, but you couldn't see it from above ground or on the satellite screen, okay? So you can't see it from above ground. This here was a suspected tunnel entrance that I noticed and made videos about, and they took it out, okay? It was put in about the time Mike Lawhon died, and then once I found it on the screen, then it got removed, okay? So there's a big, that's a suspected tunnel entrance. Another suspected tunnel entrance right here, and they took that tree out right there. A live tree was taken out. And here I'm showing, this is where I was at with Homeland Security, showing them where the human trafficking and murder tunnels are. You know, maybe that tunnel had DNA evidence of the girl. On the right-hand side, we didn't go over it, was the list of the many people that are documented saying tunnels and underground homes are here. And it's a bunch of them. In 2019, I met Homeland at the Home Depot store, and I showed them where this human trafficking murder tunnel was located that I believe was used for the oil show parties. And 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up and concrete was poured there. But I got this on video, which went viral. 2 weeks after that viral video, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland announced his retirement. And come to find out, his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my home. 3 months later, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Kevin McClellan mysteriously resigned, and 6 days later, U.S. Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigned. Perry was the governor of Texas when the 2008 and 2010 oil show parties were going on, and when I was hunted like an animal and then shot and left for dead in 2012. I suspected some multi-billion-dollar oil companies were leaning on him to help cover up the oil show party murders because that wouldn't be good for the stock price, okay? And you know, that just makes sense. Here's dated. Here once again showing you where I showed on Homeland Security where the human trafficking murder tunnels at. Here's Ricky saying, I used to live in the house, used to go in the tunnels under it. That's a print scan for Ricky. Law enforcement could talk to Ricky. And then here is where I showed Homeland this on July 2nd, 2019. 2 weeks later, they got concrete. They're pouring concrete, you know. And so, like I said a minute ago, maybe DNA evidence of that murdered girl was in that tunnel, but I got a feeling it's full of concrete right now, and we can thank Homeland Security for that, you know, I believe. Okay. And July 30th, and that was July 17th, July 30th, Conaway announces he's retiring, you know, okay, and come to find out his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my house, John LeDrun. I wondered if that home at 3809 Fair Circle was still in the Conaway family. You know, it's owned by Wilsons now, and there was a Wilson family in that family. That's Suzanne's brothers, who that is. The crimes at my home have never stopped, and last week I provided Lieutenant Gray at the Midland Sheriff Department a lot of evidence. I went up there. A 14 to 21-year-old girl was found in the county in 2013 who I suspected was the girl that was murdered at the Underground Oil Show party in 2010 that Angie told me about. That makes it their jurisdiction to investigate because there's a Crime Stopper saying contact the Sheriff's Department, okay? So I have a video I just made this week about Lieutenant Gray, and it shows the evidence I provided them. Okay. And then yesterday I saw Midland DA Laura Nodoff's name in my Facebook People You May Know list, so I suspected that she was looking at my Facebook. I suspect that an investigation into the many murders and crimes is finally being done. I pray that's the case. Okay. Y'all can see there's just a huge amount of information, but not everything is answered yet, you know, and but just literally tens of thousands of crimes here. And so hope y'all enjoyed it. Share the story. This Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.